Welcome to day 2 of our 10-day trip, where we are going to visit 6 countries, taking 7 flights to get there. In our last video, we transited from Calgary to Vancouver and spent a day in Vancouver. Now we're heading back to the Vancouver International Airport for a flight that will take us across the Atlantic all the way to Istanbul on Turkish Airlines, and then another flight to Abu Dhabi in the UAE. Join us for our first flight on Turkish Airlines 777 Business Class.
Check-in for Turkish Airlines was extremely packed, but thankfully we got let through in just over 5 minutes. And then we made our way to the International Maple Leaf Lounge. The MLL is Air Canada's flagship lounge, and you'll find one in just about every Canadian airport. This one was pretty quiet when we arrived, so we had lots of seating options to choose from. And note that the international ones are generally a lot better than the domestic ones. As an outstation, Turkish Airlines doesn't operate its own lounge in Vancouver, but it is part of Star Alliance, just like Air Canada, so you think they would team up with the Star Alliance partner to provide lounge access to passengers. But nope, weirdly enough, it contracts out its Vancouver lounge to the designated SkyTeam lounge. But because the two airlines are in the same alliance, if you're a business class passenger, you have access to the Maple Leaf Lounge, which is a lot better than the SkyTeam lounge. After spending a bit of time in the Maple Leaf Lounge, we went out to check the SkyTeam lounge. All Turkish business class passengers have to share this lounge with SkyTeam passengers, along with priority pass passengers. Unfortunately, this means that the lounge was packed.
There weren't too many food options either, although they do have a noodle bar, which is kind of cool. The noodles didn't exactly look premium, but I loved just about every noodle dish, so no complaints from me. Boarding time! We made our way to the gate as soon as we heard the announcement, but looks like the other business class passengers were even more eager to get on board. It was a pretty crowded boarding experience.
For this flight, we were seated in 7A and 7B, at the very back of the mini cabin. In this particular layout, I would recommend the mini cabin, which spans rows 5 through 7. The mini cabin is more quiet with less people, however, keep in mind that economy passengers will board through door 2, so it can be a bit crowded at times.
Which one do you want?
I'll have the lemon mint, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone finished boarding. The flight attendant came around to give us a welcome drink. Kevin picked the homemade lemonade with mint, and I picked the fresh raspberry. From here on out, this video is basically gonna be all about food. The meal service was definitely the standout part of this flight. Every international Turkish Airlines flight features flying chefs who come around to take your dinner order. It is so extra, but I'm here for it. Sure, this one.
I'll have the chicken breast, please. Thank you.
Right after takeoff, the first meal service began, starting with hot towels and a glass of champagne, of course, although I opted for tea instead. Our tray tables were set up with some warm nuts, metal utensils, tea lights, and the cutest salt and pepper shakers in the shape of minarets. The flight attendant offered us a big bread basket, and we just had time to finish the bread before they came by again with the meze on a little trolley, and we got to choose which of the appetizers we wanted from like 5 or 6 different options. I tried the beetroot with goat cheese, butternut squash soup, and eggplant salad. Pictured here is Kevin's selection, which is Caesar salad, beef brochette, and spicy red pepper paste. And all were delicious. I didn't take a picture of my plate because it didn't look the most attractive. Just picture like blobs of mushy stuff in different colors, but man, it tasted good. Next came the mains that we chose earlier in the flight. Kevin got the grilled chicken breast, and I got the fillet of swordfish. Not only did they look great, they tasted better. Chicken breast is hard enough to cook well on the ground, let alone on the plane, but they managed to make it delicious. The food service on this flight was on point. The courses came one after another, and the flight attendants were quick to clear away the finished plates.
Which dessert would you like to have preferred?
I don't know if there's a human in this world who doesn't like baklava. This trio of baklava is one of the best airplane desserts I've had.
Now that the meal service is over, we're gonna get ready for bed. But before we do that, let's take a look at the amenity kit. The amenity kit is by Salvador Ferragamo and is similar to the one provided on EVA Business Class. The kit is stocked with lotion, lip balm, face mist, a toothbrush and toothpaste, earplugs, an eye mask, and a pair of fuzzy socks. Each business class seat on Turkish Airlines also came with a premium feeling pair of slippers. It's getting late now and we have a long morning ahead of us, so we asked the flight attendant to turn down our beds. We didn't even bother changing out of our jeans before sleeping, but the bed was actually surprisingly comfortable. The number one thing I appreciate the most about premium cabins is a lie flat seat. Being able to lie down on an airplane is a luxury that I'm so grateful for. I did get too hot under the blanket at times, but I managed to squeeze in a few hours of sleep before breakfast.
By the way, in the galley there's a self-serve snack area if you get peckish between meals, but nothing too exciting. Some nuts, dried fruit, chocolate, and tea bags.
Good morning.
Wow, what an amazing day.
So we've just woken up from a quick 3-4 hour nap on our flight from Vancouver to Istanbul. We were just served breakfast, and I wanted to give a quick overall recap of the flight so far. So we're in the refreshed 777 cabin. The cabin is pretty dated, as you would expect, due to the old layout in the 232 configuration, with pretty old IFEs and old hardware.
Also note that the seat doesn't actually fully lie flat. There's a slight incline for the top half of your body, but we didn't find this to be an issue because both of us slept for quite a few hours. It was still very comfy.
But the service and the soft product on this flight has been extremely good. The service was very attentive, the food is great, the amenity kit is nice, and the bedding was plush. For like a 10-hour-ish flight, we didn't really spend much time other than eating, sleeping, and then eating again. So like, you know, if the IFE is a bit older, doesn't really matter. If you're traveling as a couple, the 2 window seats are actually pretty comfortable because you have a good amount of space and you get to converse and see each other often, unlike if you were in a reverse herringbone layout. But if you're a solo traveler, honestly, then that's where I would see this configuration being quite bad for you because there's nowhere really good to sit. And as you can see, there's no like divider that you can extend like some other airlines offer. But overall, yeah, if you're traveling as 2 people, this is a perfectly great product to fly in.
With that, let's dig into breakfast. It started with a plate of fruit, which was perfect because I felt dehydrated after sleeping, and some refreshing fruit was just what I needed.
Between the 2 options for breakfast of an omelet or French toast, I opted for a latter, which came with caramelized pineapple and a spicy anglaise sauce. It wasn't as good as the main meal service for dinner, but it was still quite a yummy breakfast.
I got the other option of a feta cheese omelet, which was delicious too. Better than the famous Air Canada omelet, I have to say.
Okay, so now that we're all nice and settled, let's give you a quick seat tour. There's not too much in the seat given that it's an old product, but I think it's still worthwhile to go over. So directly to your left is a control panel that you can adjust the headrest position, lumbar support, footrest, as well as going from your lie flat mode, sitting mode, and 2 modes we're not really sure what it does, M plus and MR. Right in front of the control panel is a small table, and just to the left of it is this little drawer that you can unlatch, and then you can pull out your table. The table itself is on rails, so it slides in and out. However, it doesn't rotate, so that means if you have it deployed, you can't step out to go to the washroom or leave. Directly below the control panel is a little inset. This is great for putting your loose items from when you're in bed or when you're standing at your seat. Inside, you'll also find your IFE control. Between us, you'll find your personal reading lamp. Directly in front of you is of course, your IFE. Below that is a little bench that acts as a footrest in the last part of the bed in lie flat mode. And then just below that is 2 storage cubbies. But yeah, otherwise, there's not much else to say. It's a pretty basic seat. Like I said earlier, like it's still very comfortable, even though it's not the newest product, and I was pleasantly surprised with how comfortable we felt on this flight. I will note, however, this aircraft does not feature individual air vents.
For these 2 flights in business class, we paid using Air Canada Aeroplan points. As this itinerary falls between North America and Atlantic Zone chart, we paid 90,000 Aeroplan points per person per way and around $60 in taxes and fees. Our 10 hours on this amazing Turkish Airlines flight passed in no time, and soon we touched down at the beautiful Istanbul airport for the very first time. As we taxied to our gate, we looked forward to spending some time at the Turkish Airlines Business Class lounge. After all, this is their flagship lounge, so we had high hopes. Right as we enter, we're greeted by lockers to store your carry-on luggage. This is a very thoughtful feature, and I wish more lounges would provide a space like this. To the right is a concierge desk where you can reserve shower slots and private suites, which are basically nap rooms or if you want a quiet space to yourself for a bit. Unfortunately, during our time there, it was so packed that all the shower suites were taken and we couldn't fit a shower in before our next flight. The lounge is on the second floor of the airport and it has a great open air concept that overlooks the rest of the terminal below.
Although the lounge is beautifully designed and it's huge, it was super crowded when we got there and we had trouble finding seats for 2 people. We were also pretty full from the flight, so we didn't get to try much of the food, although the selection at this lounge is definitely the most impressive I've seen yet. There are tons of buffet and live cooking stations, and don't even get me started on all the tea, coffee, and other drinks. There are also some cool traditional foods like ayran, local butter, and simit. You can tell a lot of thought was put into the presentation. I almost wish I came here on an empty stomach so I could try all the food and drink on offer, especially all these gorgeous Middle Eastern pastries. Besides the food, this lounge has a few other cool things, like a golf simulator, a football exhibit, and a model racetrack. There's also a children's area if you're traveling with kids. Although we didn't get to make much use out of the lounge this time, I'm excited to come back to Istanbul and experience it properly. In a couple hours, we were off to our 3rd flight of the trip. This one a short haul flight to Abu Dhabi. We were greeted again by welcome drinks before takeoff. Even though this flight was only 4.5 hours, we were surprisingly served a full course meal. The appetizer was a shrimp niçoise salad, and for the mains, Kevin had the tire meatballs with tomato sauce and buttered rice, which was delicious. I got some sort of artichoke dish. I don't remember what this was called, but it was basically a bunch of roasted vegetables in olive oil, which wasn't bad for what it was. The second surprise of our flight, we were provided small amenity kits. For such a short flight, that was really above and beyond. We were super impressed by this short flight. Again, the hard product was nothing special, but the soft product made it shine. The service was top-notch, the food was generous, and we even got amenity kits. And with that, we've landed at our destination in the United Arab Emirates, where we'll be spending the next 4 days. We've landed at 4 in the morning, so stay tuned to see how we killed the time in Abu Dhabi. And catch you in the next one. At least now, because you set it up, it's faster.
Yeah, you just turn it on and or,
Is that autofocus?
yeah, I should. This thing is a bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this. I don't think this is not gonna fold well. This guy is setting his table for the nth time.
You can't shake this whole off.
He is again. How many times have I like set my own table?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, alright. Alright, you can set your table now.
Yes. Jesus.